How to heal an earlobe piercing. Coming up next on Earlobe Aftercare Instructions 2020. So stick around. For those that are new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio located here in sunny Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to you at a level of expertise as somebody who's been in the industry for well over 25 years and has helped people through the healing process over and over and over again. What I'm doing today is we're starting a long series. It's probably going to be close to 40 or 50 videos of going through my normal aftercare instructions that I would give if you came to the studio and got a piercing. This one, we're going to focus on earlobe piercings. We'll probably do more in the future. If you kind of want the kind of brief version of this, check out link in the description of the consultation. That'll go through some of the basics that you should know before getting an earlobe piercing, healing, etc. This is more, you already did it. Always like to include a disclaimer. I'm recording this in April of 2020. If you've gotten conflicting instructions from your piercer, including myself, talk to them. Ask them why the changes, ask them why they do things differently, etc. It's always a good idea to get that conversation going in case some new information has come out. I don't know what's going to come out in the future, and we are a young industry, and we're continuing to expand and become more knowledgeable about the human body and how it heals piercings. So this is what I would go through if you came into my studio and got a piercing. We would sit down. I would give you one of these, which is a detailed written instructions. It even includes a shopping list, details on how to clean it properly, what you should do if you feel like you contaminated the area, how to not contaminate the area, jewelry information, and also what you would do if you think of an infection or other problem. Also on the back of each one of these is information about your jewelry, when it was done, and who did it. I think it's important that you not only have written instructions, but somebody goes through it verbally. And as I tell my clients, if you have a question, please ask it. That's the time to do so. So the first thing I'm going to suggest is that you do compresses with this stuff. There's also a piercing version of this. The only difference between this stuff, which you can find pretty much everywhere, like Walgreens, Walmart, Target, pretty much everywhere. The only difference between this and the piercing spray is how it comes out of the can. Wound wash, it comes out in a squirt. With the piercing spray, it comes out in a mist. That's the only difference between the two. So what I'm going to suggest, you take this and then take a clean paper towel, or better yet, a sterile piece of God sponge, saturate it to the point where it's dripping wet, and then apply it to the piercing area. Let it stay on there for roughly about 10 minutes. If you feel like you need to, you can rinse it under running water. Make sure it's running water. What that's going to do is it's going to help draw waste and debris from the piercing, increase the circulation and the flow of oxygen, which can help with healing. The salt actually contains minerals and nutrients that are helpful in your body's production of skin cells. It can help with swelling, and it really helps to soothe the piercing, especially when it's going through a grumpy phase. Piercings, no matter how well you take care of them, can sometimes get a little grumpy and a little sore because they've gotten some form of trauma or something has happened. And this is one of those things that'll nurse it back to normal and get things back on track. I would suggest starting the compresses, beginning the morning afterwards, and continuing for a minimum of 8 to 12 weeks, or until you stop seeing discharge collecting and depositing on the jewelry, and the piercing will start kind of growing inward and getting a natural rounded edge, just like every other orifice on your body. When in doubt, and you're not sure if it's healed or not, I always suggest going to see your piercer. They're generally, including myself, happy to take a look, see how it's progressed, and let you know whether or not we think it's healed or not. The other part would be soap that you want to pick up. And I would love it if everybody on the planet used something medical grade, but it tends to be expensive and it tends to be hard to find. And that would be something like satin or Proven. But since it's something that if you're careful, you'll never have to use, a mild antibacterial liquid soap should be fine as long as it doesn't have a lot of moisturizers, fragrances, or other additives. Now, if you know you contaminated the piercing area, I want you to clean the area with that soap. The way to do that, it's best to do it in the shower. It's easiest. Jump in the shower, take care of any normal bathing things you may have on hand. Wash your hands. Spray the water onto the general area to remove anything that may be on the area. Take the soap, squirt out a pearl drop in the palm of your hand. So take a lot, just a little bit. Lather it up well, and then gently apply it to the piercing area. Now, when I say that, I don't mean rotate the jewelry through the piercing, rotate it, move it, do all this stuff. No. All I want you to do is clean off the general area, which is going to basically kill most of the microorganisms in the area and give your healthy microorganisms that live on the surface of your skin a chance to repopulate and colonize the area and fight off any invaders. Basically, you want to let that soap stay in contact for 30 seconds, which is equivalent to singing about happy birthday twice, or Mary had a little lamb twice, or if you don't want to sing, recite the Pledge of Allegiance twice. Now let's move on to cross-contamination prevention. Most of this is common sense stuff your mom taught you. Wash your hands before you handle it. Try to handle it by the ends whenever possible, or the ball or seamed area. The only time you need of any contact with the piercing is when you are doing the compresses. The rest of the time, leave it alone. Also, keep everybody else's germy little fingers away from it. Understand that microorganisms like bacteria and other pathogens do move on the surface of your skin, so anytime you touch the area, you need to wash your hands before you do so for roughly about 20 to 30 seconds. At some point in your life, you might have been told to spin, rotate, or move jewelry during the healing process. There is absolutely no benefit to that. In fact, it's going to increase your likelihood of infection by overhandling the jewelry and possibly dragging contaminants into the piercing. The other issue is it can break loose new skin growth and prolong your healing period or lead to other issues, including scarring. No oral contact or exchange of bodily fluids on near around the piercing. That does include your own saliva. I've never understood why people think it's safe to lick their fingers and clean things. Don't do that. It's disgusting. Your saliva is full of bacteria. You're just asking for an infection. Keep your environment clean. Clothing, bedding, towels, anything that may come in contact with it. A trick, if you would like to, is get an old, soft, comfortable t-shirt that you kind of don't care about. Put it on the pillow, sleep on one side, flip it over, sleep on the other side, turn it inside out, sleep on one side, sleep on the other side. That way you get about 4 nights out of it instead of changing the pillowcase every single night. Do not sleep directly on the piercing. I don't care how good it feels to lay on it. You don't feel any pain or whatever. You don't realize the amount of pressure and trauma and movement you are causing with that piercing. It can take a well-healing piercing and suddenly turn it into a big, giant, bumpy mess. You need to figure out a way to elevate it off the bed. 2 common ways to do that are to take a big fluffy bath towel that's clean, of course, roll it up, and then put it in the shape of a donut and sleeve your ear in the center of it. Another one is using the U-shaped travel or Nick pillows and wrapping that area around your ear so that it's elevated off the bed. Keep pets away from it. Do not let them sleep in the bed with you. They're just germ magnets. They're going to drag everything they've come in contact with and put it all over your clean linen, and then it gets transferred to the piercing, and you have an infection. This is especially true of smaller dogs and cats that like to sleep by your face and are attracted to shiny objects. Do not submerge the piercing in bodies of water you cannot control the quality of until it's completely healed, which means 8 to 12 weeks, not a month, not 6 weeks, 8 to 12, or until it heals. No matter where you're going swimming, that water is full of contaminants. The only way you can ensure that it isn't is your own clean bathtub, which, if you clean it properly, should be safe. No other bodies of water, though. No. No. No swimming. No contact with unclean objects. This brings in a whole spectrum of things that you need to be aware of. Things like earbuds, headphones, earmuffs, sunglasses, anything that comes in contact with the area needs to be cleaned on a regular basis, or you need to avoid contact 100%. If you use anything that comes out of a spray can or squirt bottle in your hair, shield it with folded up paper towel. When you go see the beautician, do this, or barber, do the same thing. I'm not just concerned about the chemicals that they use and might spray in your hair, but I'm also concerned about that bottle of water they use to dampen your hair as they trim it. God knows what's in there and what it was changed last. Do the math. Abuse. I've already mentioned do not sleep on the piercing, do not handle the piercing, avoid contact as much as possible. Isolating piercings and limiting the amount of contact they have not only saves you off from getting infection, but it also helps to allow your body to heal it on a timely basis. If you're constantly having contact with it, it's like picking a scab. It just gets more, it takes longer and longer and longer, and eventually it will lead to scarring and other issues. So leave it be. Do not use harsh products like benzofluoride chloride-based solutions like sensitive ear care solution. Do not use hydrogen peroxide, rubbing alcohol, witch hazel, Listerine, Bactine, anything that says teen in it, betadine, Hibiclens, or any of that stuff. It is far too harsh for healing tissue. The saline is enough unless you are making mistakes. And I already told you what to do if you think like you did that. The other thing, do not use antibacterial ointments such as bacitracin zinc and neosporin. If you read the package, it specifically says not for deep wounds or puncture wounds. What is a piercing? It's a deep puncture wound. If you do use it, it can cause a lot of problems, including blocking the flow of oxygen to the piercing, which can prolong the healing period. It could also kind of plug it up and not allow your body to expel any type of discharge, or if it is infected, the actual infection. And it creates a nice petroleum film for dirt, debris, and other contaminants to collect in. So no ointments, nothing petroleum-based. No. That brings us on to jewelry. Leave the jewelry in until it is completely healed, which means until it's completely healed. If the jewelry is causing an issue, like it's too long and it constantly is getting caught on things and is causing increased trauma, going and seeing your piercer and possibly having a shorter post put in may not be a bad idea, but it is always best to stick with that original piece of jewelry through the whole healing period. After it heals, you can change it out to another piece if you wish. However, you do want to leave something in it at all times for roughly the next 2 to 3 years, only taking out to replace. Understand, regardless of how long you've had the piercing, every time you remove the jewelry, your body's going to try to close the piercing. So it's a good idea if you like it, leave something in it. I know I personally never change jewelry, regardless where it comes from. I'll even autoclave it and sterilize it for you. However, it is always best to let your piercer change it if you can, especially that first year or so when the piercing is still in that fragile state. When it comes to picking out jewelry, use some common sense. If it's got sharp edges, points, things dangling off of it, or it seems extremely heavy, it's going to be really uncomfortable and constantly get caught and snagged on everything it comes in contact with. Usually, the more simplistic the jewelry is, the better off you are. When in doubt, if you see something, you're not quite sure if it's going to work or not, get in contact with me if I've done the piercing, or your piercer, and ask their advice on what style of jewelry is going to work best. If you see something online, you're like, I really like that, but I don't know, send them a link. They'll be happy to say yes or no. We want this piercing to last the rest of your life, and we're happy to give you advice along the way or help you in any way, shape, form we can. Also, there's a number of online places that I list on my website where I suggest buying jewelry from. When you're looking at online, I did do an entire video on this, pros and cons. You might want to check that out. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description. But the thing you want to look for is the jewelry manufacturer. Generally, better jewelry will list the manufacturer right next to it because it is a standard of quality that particular manufacturer has. Infection, very infrequent and extremely rare if you take care of it properly. If something creeps up and does not seem correct to you, get in contact with your piercer as soon as possible or a medical professional. The two worst things you can do if you think you have an infection is put off getting taken care of because it's just going to get worse, possibly turn systematic and spread and be much more difficult to correct. The other thing is removal of the jewelry. A lot of people have this misconception that removal of the jewelry will always just make everything go back to normal and the piercing will heal over and then you won't have any other problems. A lot of cases that will happen. However, due to the way that your body heals infections and what happens when you take the jewelry out, it's not advisable. There is always a risk that when you take the jewelry out, the holes are going to seal over and possibly trap the infected tissue and fluids inside your body, leading to one of two things happening. Worst case scenario, it turns into an inward traveling infection, begins actually spreading other tissue. If left untreated, can possibly turn septic or cause permanent tissue loss. More commonly, your body will isolate the infection by developing a cyst or an abscess, then very slowly, painfully try to push it to the surface. In both cases, you're definitely going to need medical treatment, and it's probably going to involve having it lanced and drained. If you leave the jewelry in, it allows a way for your body to expel the infection, and also usually makes it a little bit more treatable. With that all said, like I said before, it's rare that we see an infection. It's usually one of three things that are causing it or led to it. The first one being is the person flat out refused to take care of it properly. The second one being is that they had some pre-existing medical condition that is impeding their body's ability to heal the piercing or fight off infection. It's depletion of their immune system. The third one is stuff that's just damn well out of your control. Things like your house floods, somebody pushes you into a lake, the dog licks your ear and you can't keep it away from it. Stuff that you just can't control. Those things in life that just happen. The key is consistency. If you take care of it properly, you probably will not see any problems. You'll have an easy heal, and it'll be healed before you know it. It's not uncommon to see some signs of infection like discomfort, discolorization, heat, tenderness to touch, inflammation, or swelling, off and on anywhere from most people a couple days, some people up to about 5 to 6 days. As your body gets over the trauma of the piercing, it starts to accept it. Also, it's not uncommon to see a tad bit of bleeding. Usually it's kind of collects around the piercing holes. Most people don't even notice it. If you do notice it, leave it alone. Let it do what it needs to do. It'll stop doing that when it doesn't need to do that anymore. Other than that, I hope this video was helpful. I hope this gives you a clear understanding of how to take care of an earlobe piercing during the healing process. I'm going to be putting out future ones, starting with all the ear piercings and then moving our way down the body. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it, because we like it when you like it. If you'd like to see more, hit the subscription and ring the notification bell so that you're notified every time we post a video. We post generally between anywhere from usually about 4 to 5 videos a week. Focus on education on body piercing and tattooing. If you feel like I missed something or something confused you in this whole process, please leave a comment. I love answering comments, and I try to do it on a regular basis. If you have a shared experience or something to add, please leave a comment. If you like swag and t-shirts and stickers and coffee mugs and etc., check out our merch store. Link is in the description. We also have a merch bar down below. There's various different designs by our artists and myself, and it helps to support the channel and us during this shutdown. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for watching.